you remember the people like President Sekou Touré in West Africa, and Nkrumah, and so on. And of course Nyerere nearby. Those were his peers. But I would like to think that President Kaunda was really special in a number of ways. One, his faith in Christianity and his fairness in treating other faiths as equal to Christianity. That was iconic. The other thing that I want to remember President Kaunda for is his ability to control situations that were pretty difficult, given that almost all our surrounding countries were under colonialism still, well after our independence for Zambia. He fought with his all he had to try and help these countries become independent. That was actually at a major cost to our economy. We started having shortages and so on because of his belief that we had to die a little in order to deliver our fellow black people surrounding us. And it worked in the end. Okay, we decimated a lot of our foreign reserves because of having to buy things expensively, having to transport things into Zambia by air rather than, the rail line. That we had two rail lines. One was from Angola and one came from South Africa through Zimbabwe. So those two were destroyed, mainly by the South Africans and Ian Smith's troops. And also, of course, the war in Angola. So it meant that we had to find other ways of doing things. And he very quickly turned to China to get Chinese to help us by putting down the Tazara Railway. That was unbelievable because that was the biggest project being done on earth at the time. And the Chinese had never done anything, not even half as big as that. And they did it. So I would like to remember him for those things, that he changed the face of politics in Southern Africa. He changed the face of our education. At independence, less than 0.5% of our youths had actually even gone to beyond grade 7. He changed that. He built a school in every district so that people now could aspire to getting their GCEs, grade 12 as it's called now. He changed the face of education for us. Okay, he also put up the University of Zambia, which is still the icon in Zambia. It's the best university in Zambia in terms of the quality and the output. I went to university myself, University of Zambia, for my very first degree before I went abroad. And I benefited tremendously from the education that Dr. Kaunda put up. We would also like to remember him for the very strong way he put down rebellions amongst his own troops. Troops in UNIP, people that did things wrong. He stamped on them very severely. He was generally known as a very unkind man, but no, he was trying to do a job, a very difficult job. Remember, you get independent, and yet you don't even have any teachers to speak of. You don't have schools to speak of. You don't have medical facilities. It is a very, very difficult thing to come off. So I remember him very positively. In State House, there was a 9-hole golf course. He ensured that golf course was well maintained, and many a game was played there. He played as often as he could. I remember talking to him in his retirement, and he said to me, "No, I played golf as much as I could, but there was not enough time because as a head of state, I had a lot to do." But remember, he went and played golf sometimes when he went on state visits. if the host country's president or prime minister was a golf player, they went and played. Now, he used it very, very well, because he also told me, he said, you know, sometimes you see people coming to visit on state visit, and you think it's a happy affair. It was not always a happy affair. So when they arrived, sometimes you would arrange a game of golf if they played golf. And while they're playing golf, they discussed a lot of the hard issues. They addressed them. So by the time they come to the formal meeting, he has already resolved a lot of issues. So he used it very positively. Also, when he needed to help a charity organization, and he ordered his people in State House to arrange a golf tournament, and they played there. Now remember, most people who play golf are quite educated, and they would love to be associated with State House. So when they went there, and there was a section where they would say there's an auction of things, and Dr. Kaunda would put in maybe the ball he played with on the day, or you put in a watch or anything that he could spare. A lot of money was raised because it was in State House. If you had the same thing done here at our golf club, the Lusaka Golf Club, you wouldn't find a lot of money pouring out of people's pockets. But because they want to see the president, notice that they are there, notice that they are helping the charity that he supports, they made a lot of money for the charity. So he used the golf course at State House very positively. But also when he came and played a place like here, the crowds were amazing. A lot of people turned up. And again, it did a world of good for our club, because the bar takings were up, the food takings were up, you know, and then some people got attracted to golf that way, and they came and joined as members. Unfortunately, it's in his retirement time when His Excellency was struggling a little bit. And I played with him at a little private golf course, which was owned by the late Maxim Kole. Maxim Kole, his last role in Zambian civil service was as permanent secretary at Ministry of Home Affairs. So he had a private golf course. I haven't been there for a while now. I hope it's still there. It was a little 9-hole course and very suitable for, you know, stately gentlemen and older gentlemen like our president was. So we played there several times, and we would play. Most times we finished the 9 holes. Other times we'd do maybe 6, and then we rest, and we would eat together. He was so modest, you know. He would say, "Come and sit here, Chanda, sit here, my son." So I would sit there, and we're eating with other people, Max and Kole, and quite a lot of other people, too many to mention. And we'd sit and eat, and you know, he was a vegan. He never ate any meat or anything, fish or anything like that. So it's vegetables. But he loved these Zambian vegetables, which are done with, you know, chibwabwa and things like that, kalembula. And we always had that. And we would eat, I remember, tute with groundnuts, or peanuts as the English would like to call that, but it's groundnuts. And he enjoyed that tremendously. But the greatest thing I enjoyed about golf, playing golf with His Excellency Dr. Kaunda, was actually the jokes he had. He had a repertoire of jokes, it's unbelievable. So you would, you know, golf is a funny game. The ball is stationary, you think it's easy to hit. So sometimes you're not concentrating, you miss-hit it. Occasionally some people miss it. And you would say, "We didn't see that. Can you play?" You know, just making the person relax. Rather than, because when you're playing with a big man like that, you tense up. It's natural. But he makes you relax and you play. And some of the best golf I played in on a small course, that small course, was when I played with him, because he made me relax so much. And I'll never ever forget those moments. The biggest vision he had was an undivided Zambia, a united Zambia, a Zambia looking forward to developing economically and socially as well, and obviously religiously. He always put God in his work, and every time he's speaking, always mentioning God, always mentioning chapters and verses from the Bible. I think his vision was the right one for Zambia, the vision of a united Zambia, the vision of a Zambia that is moving forward together, not just within Zambia, but also with unity and unison with the surrounding neighbors. He never wanted to have war or any conflict with our surrounding neighbors. He tried very hard to unite nations rather than just Zambia. And I think that that's a vision he had. It's a very holy vision in my view. I remember my mother was a teacher, my father was a teacher, and when I was born in Chinsali. And I wondered why, after 2 years or so, they moved youth elsewhere. Later on, I realized why. Each time we moved, we went to a different province, different language, and so on. But it never bothered me as a kid. I actually loved it. And the last posting that was very significant was my father being moved from the Copperbelt, Kitwe, all the way to Mongo. And he became a provincial inspector of schools there. And I later on went and studied at St. John's College, we called it at the time. Now it's St. John's Secondary School in Mongo. And it enabled me to understand, for instance, how my Lozi brothers and sisters live, how the cultures differ from mine as a Bemba, Bisa speaking person. And I think that rubbed on to other people, like my late cousin, His Excellency Michael Chufyasata. He had very similar feelings to what the Kaunda regime had taught him. For instance, he tried to reintroduce the fact that people should be moved from province to province, so that if you're Tonga speaking, you find yourself in Impika, and they're speaking Bemba and Bisa, and you learn something. And also you learn to live with each other and know that we are all different only in our eyes. In the eyes of God, we are all the same. And that was a very, very principled stand by Dr. Kaunda. Yeah, well, me, I had no shocks about that, because my father is a big disciplinarian. My father would tell me off like I'm a kid. Just recently, I was traveling from Chipata, coming back here, and I happened to start off a bit late. He phoned, "Where are you?" I've made a mistake, because I've just reached Ruangwa. I said, "What type of thinking is that?" He told me off like I was a kid. I said, "Don't travel at night." Now, when I was wrong, I was punished. If I didn't do my homework, I really was punished. And my brothers and my single sister, I have the same. They know it. So I benefited, and all my brothers and my sister, we all benefited. We're all reasonably educated because of my father's discipline that he imposed on the family. And similarly, I saw Dr. Kaunda as looking at Zambia as his family. He didn't look at Zambia as a country. He said, "This is my family. Yeah, if things are going wrong, they must be put right." So anyone who crossed this path, yes, they knew about it. And I think the way we are going in Zambia at the moment, we need a lot of discipline. All these insults, all these innuendos and lies and insults against the head of state are uncalled for. It's indiscipline of the highest order. I think as a nation we need to be a lot more disciplined. I can quote one country where I think the discipline is absolutely high. That is in Rwanda. President Kagame has got his foot down. And here we've given ourselves too much freedom. Everybody thinks they have the right to insult anybody. They have the right to lie. They have the right to actually insinuate others have stolen when there's no proof. All these things. It's bad. It's Zambian, it's unchristian. And I think Dr. Kaunda instilled that one Zambia, one nation, one man, one wife, and all those principles that he had were very Christian, right from the Bible. And like I said, Michael started to try to do the same. Remember, he said, "I rule by the 10 Commandments." Yeah, he tried to follow the Bible, because the principles there are fairness, but with firm discipline. It is very, very important. The Bible doesn't allow certain things because of discipline. God is a disciplined being, be it a superhuman being, but he's very disciplined. Even how you read back in the Bible, how he disciplined Lucifer. Yeah, it's the same. You know, Kaunda tried to do some disciplining of the nation. Yes, I know of 2 cases, but I shan't mention the names of these people. He called them in. He called them to say, yeah, I hear you're doing this and this. And if you refused and you had proof that, in fact, you are lying, you were disciplined. But if you went and agreed and said, yes, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, please advise me what I should do, then you got away with it, so to speak. So yes, he was a disciplinarian to the extent of almost following the teachings of the Bible. I think that is the key. People didn't realize that. They just thought this man is hard and so on. No, he was hard, but it was hard following the principles that he so much followed in the Bible. He was a devout Christian, as you know, and born of a reverend. His father was a reverend in Lubwa Mission. So, yeah, I think he was right to be very strict and to make our nation a bit more disciplined. We wouldn't have moved far if we hadn't had the discipline. If we had had the freedom we have now where people can do anything, I'm telling you, we would have split as a nation. We would have had several nations within one. But because of his hard line, he made sure the country remained the same.
Brilliant. Any last words you have?
The last word is just let's learn from this huge character. You know, he's a man who fought colonialism. You know, big powers, he fought them using his words, not the gun. He never allowed his cadres to go out and fight other people on the streets. You remember when he realized that he may not keep the nation united, he even resigned. He resigned here in Lusaka. He said, no, I can't have a nation, I can't be the leader of a nation that's divided, that is fighting, that is practicing tribalism. And he took the late Mansaka Pwepwe and others to go back there and persuade him to say, no, we are sorry, let's work together. That's how he came back. And then he at that stage, he said, one Zambia, one nation. And that has stood the test of time. And I'm sure if we keep that stance in the way we live in Zambia, we'll still be one Zambia, one nation in years to come. I daren't think of what is happening at the moment on the streets because of politics. It really hurts me, especially at the time when we have just lost the icon of unity. I think we should sit back. Politics can only be done at political periods like now. After 12th of August, we voted. Whatever the result is, we must all accept. We must all move forward as one. One Zambia, one nation, and tiende pamoja, mtima umo. You know, let's move together with one heart in unity.
I think we Zambians have not quite realized the value we had in President Kaunda. Those of us who had the opportunity to be raised by him from an early stage, to be given the opportunities that he did, you know, I think that our appreciation of the man is a lot deeper. Because President Kaunda is not a statesman you can describe in one word. I think that to begin with, in my knowledge, my experience, President Kaunda is one of the most outstanding global statesmen that this earth called the world has ever produced. If you look at his role in the liberation struggle of our country, the region, the whole of Africa, and many other parts of the world, he was a champion of freedom and justice. So that's at that broad and big level. Now, at other levels, let's say we are here at Lusaka Golf Club, one of the outstanding sporting facilities in the country and in Africa generally. Dr. Kaunda was highly inspirational to many Zambians and non-Zambians alike in terms of inspiring people, men and women, youth, to take up various types of sports. Two of the most outstanding sports that KK loved dearly was football and golf. And football, it's a big story. My role in football is very, very minimal, but you know that we ended up having the KK11 as our national team, and all the glory and joy they brought to our country. Golf was a special game because at independence, golf was really a game for the non-Zambians. In 1964, these facilities were for the expatriates. And if they were white Zambians, they were white Zambians. The other ones who understood the game of golf, the other ones who enjoyed these facilities. Now, soon after independence, KK realized the role that sport plays in uniting people and opening up their minds and holding hands with each other. And so he began to encourage young people to take up the game of golf. And I will tell you that this piece of land here called Lusaga Golf Club, it owes its continued existence to President Kaunda. Because there was a time soon after independence, my brother Chanda will recollect, the cabinet, the early cabinet, were quite surprised that so much land has been set aside for grown human beings to be chasing a little ball. So this is prime land, we can make farms out of this place. And they almost pushed the president to accept that let's convert it into farmland. But KK was a visionary. And he saw much further than most of his colleagues. And he resisted that temptation and insisted that it must remain for purposes of golf. And what did he do? He started now encouraging young people, even members of the diplomatic community who came to serve in Zambia. One of the things he would ask them, Your Excellency, do you play golf? And the ambassador said, no, sir. I said, no, you can't not play golf. I'll get someone to introduce you into the game. And many of us came into golf from that window. I myself, I was one of those that were privileged to have been beneficiaries of Dr. Kaunda's free education policy. One of those who were sent to study abroad, he came back and given responsibilities in the economic agenda of the country. And I remember joining this club nearly 40 years, 1983. There were very few black people, mostly white people, expatriates, and so on. And I was not playing golf at the time. And most of us Zambians, those who were members, were non-playing members. There were few like the late Cosmo Mlongoti. He was one of the first Zambians to play golf, and he became an outstanding golfer. Now, in 1986, at that time, KK had just appointed me to serve as chairman of the Prices and Incomes Commission, and it required me to interact with the president and many other levels of leadership in government at different levels. So he said to me, Patrick, do you play golf? I said, no, sir. I said, no, you've got to start playing golf. And he had a team called the State House Golf Team, and recruited me, as it were, to be a member of the State House Golf Team back in 1986, which is 35 years ago. And I'd barely become a young man of 35, 36. And I started to train here with the people who are still here, like Sam Wanza, Tembo, who were teaching black people to play golf. And I became part of that. Now, just as I was about to start playing golf in October 1986, we lost President Machel of Mozambique. And I was to go there on the range to train, and then an announcement was made that, sporting facilities will be suspended because Zambia declared 40 days of national mourning for President Machel. So I had just embraced this new love called golf, and I had to hang my clubs for that period of time. But eventually things opened up, and of course, as a member of the State House golf team, we were privileged to play with the president twice a week for as long as he was in the country. On Thursday afternoon, like today, we would be playing at State House, and on Saturday morning. And we would play with many other groups and so on. And in the process, and we have some very interesting photographs that you can look at of President and ourselves playing golf in different parts of the country, including Kasaba Bay. When you opened up Kasaba Bay with a new golf course there, we would fly there and go and play golf. And the thing about this game of golf, as I saw it, its impact on President Kaunda, when you look back on his work now, you just wonder what kind of a Superman he was to do the sort of work that he used to do. I was listening to my friend, Mr. Tapson Mazaba, who was Principal Private Secretary at State House from 1976 to about 86. And you'd hear Tapson say, my job was to arrive at 5 o'clock in the morning, because he opened the president's office. And by the time the president is coming in, he's there. And he's the last person to leave. And usually the president will leave 22 hours, midnight, So golf gave him a very welcome relief from a lot of the pressures of office. And that was the value of the State House golf team, which included many outstanding Zambians, many names that come to mind: the late Mr. Stubbs Inundwe, Mr. Skestili Sachika, he's there, Prime Minister Malimba Masheke, and many others. And what used to happen was that, every afternoon, like today, as I say, Thursday, we'll play and finish about 18 hours. Then we'll go and sit with the president. Believe it or not, it is like sitting with friends. And this was the time you can crack any joke, and the president had a great sense of humor. We would laugh and make him feel a normal human being. And at about 21 hours, we would leave. And you know where he would go? Back to his office. That was the man. And so golf meant a great deal to many of us. And I think that it was a great opportunity for President Kaunda to be able to do the volumes and volumes of work that he was able to do at different levels because of his ability to spend some time playing this game called golf. In the process, I was privileged to serve in the leadership of Lusaka Golf Club. I served as president of this club from 1999 to 2002, I think it was. I was the centennial president. And later, my colleagues felt that I should be accorded the honor and privilege to serve as trustee of the club, along with Mr. Alex Chikwanda and the late Mr. Bruce Munyama, whom we lost and has since been replaced by Mr. Caleb Mulenga. Now, during my tenure, as president of Lusaka Golf Club. One of the things that I remember with pride that I ensured happened, you will remember that at that time, 2000 and so on, President Kaunda had long left office. And it was not easy for him to be coming to the golf club and to enjoy the game that he loved. And I made a proposal to my colleagues. I said, look, I think one of the things that we can do, to fulfill this old man's desire to continue to enjoy the game of golf is to offer him the position of honorary life member. And so my colleagues on our executive committee agreed with me. Well, there were some dissensions. There were those who felt that, look, who can never stop Kaunda coming here? And I said, look, times change. There'll be a time when different opinions, people think differently. Some people could be a little hostile to him for various reasons. So it's better we give him a position of honor, which would give him entitlement to come to the golf club and continue to enjoy the facilities. So if you go into the members' lounge, you'll actually see the insertion there, honorary life member. That was during my tenure as president of Lusaka Golf Club.
Kenneth David Kaunda, who was not only an ardent golfer, but also a patron of Lusaka Golf Club. He flagged off key functions and events at the club. As recent as 2018, I remember him sinking a long putt in front of the clubhouse to flag off the Zanaco Masters, much to the delight of the patrons at the time, who greatly miss his counsel as well as his patronage. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Dr. Kaunda was not only a statesman, he was someone who was loved all over the world. And if you talk about my experience in China, is that Dr. Kaunda is very much well known in all aspects of society, especially when you come to think of it, that with China having a population of over 1.4 billion people, Dr. Kaunda and the then president, may his soul rest in peace, of China, Chairman Mao, they created this bond to focus on the mutual benefit for both our two countries, such that if you had to meet any adult Chinese man, the first thing they will tell you about you being Zambian is Dr. Kaunda, and then they'll talk about the Tanzania-Zambia railway line. Unsurprising, I came to discover that actually this was something topical in their school syllabus. It's something that was taught in the whole population from their elementary grades to learn about the history and the works that Dr. Kaunda did with Chairman Mao to bring about the Zambia-Tanzania rail line.
I think it's 79 when Queen Elizabeth came to Zambia. It was exciting. We were all lined up on Commonwealth Road in Matero, waiting for the Queen Elizabeth and KK. And we were there for 2-3 hours, a lot of us. And I remember seeing KK drive with the Queen standing on top of a Land Rover out, and we all waved. That was my first glimpse of KK. I must have been about 10 years old. But then fast forward to my next encounter with KK in terms of a person in person was on a flight to Kenya. I was on the entourage. I was lucky to be on his entourage in 2012, I think. going to Kenya at the inauguration ceremony of Uhuru Kenyatta. I was representing the then Finance Minister, Honorable Alexander Chikwanda, and there was the Vice President in the Challenger, and there was KK in the Challenger. So I had a grandfather on that trip, and it was so, there was so much to gain on my part just being with him the next 3 days. We stayed in the same hotel, and at the function itself, at the event at the stadium to inaugurate President Uhuru when he became president, me being in KK's entourage, you could see the aura and the respect everybody gave him, and I could feel his power that he possessed spilling over to me in terms of the clout. They didn't know me, they knew him. So us walking the stadium, everyone was clapping. And I sat next, he was in the VVIP, I sat next to Jesse Jackson, and he kept on talking about KK. In my mind I thought, even in America, Jesse Jackson knows him very well. And in the hotel when we would have meals, I remember him talking to me about the Bible. Love your neighbors, you love yourself. Do unto others as you wish them to do to you, young man. And so I still remember that, and I always try to live by that. But then when I became mayor, each time I'd visit him, in 2020, his birthday, 28th April, last year, I took all the councillors and we went there and we had such a nice time with him. And then this year as well, at his birthday, I went alone. We had a good time. I don't know whether it's the chain he loved or it's me, but each time he would see me and the chain, he said, "Oh, Mayor." I became like his one of his sons. So each time he had a birthday, I made sure I always thought, what can I take a senior citizen like him? Everybody has taken him ornaments, pictures, copper platings, or wall clocks. So the 2020 when I took councillors, I thought we took, because we knew he was vegetarian, we took groundnuts, dry vegetables, chimpapila, dry okra, several African dry dishes. This year, I thought to myself, what can I take him that he will be happy to see? Contrary to what people made fun of, that, he took a chicken to someone who's a vegetarian. Of course, unless you're not Zambian, all of us grew up knowing that KK was a vegetarian, even when he was president. But we also do know that he kept game. He's the one who started keeping game at State House. You see the impalas there. They started by KK. So it doesn't mean somebody who is a vegetarian cannot own chickens, cannot own animals or game as pets. So I thought I should take him pets, something, because I thought if he's in the house all the time, what can get him to go outside? I thought, if he can think of going to feed the chickens, going to feed the rabbits, that can keep him busy, or he can just come out. And also I thought the chickens and the guinea fowl will be making noise outside, and old folks love that. Come to learn that old folks love playing with little kids, but also they love to see nature, animals.